All right. So opening up a blank template. Save as. I was tempted to do the bar from Wrigley Field, but then I realized how complicated that would be. I was like, well, that would be fun, but maybe we'll do that another time. Not something I think I can do in a day without, having to break it into multiple recordings. So let's see, bar practice. I had it pulled up even though too, and I was like, oh, this would be fun. Okay. So let's go to the folder for the project. It is pretty far back. It is project 5493, 110 North Carpenter. This is a Chicago project. And look at the bar from what we had drawn. This guy here, amenity bar, print F6. So this is what it ended up looking like. It's not very impressive. It's just a pretty standard bar. I will say the one thing that it has going for it that's kind of nice is it doesn't have one of those flip up counters over here because those are kind of a pain to deal with when you do see those. And as we do get into other bars down the road, we'll have to talk more about that. But you can see here is where I'm going to add that drink rail in on this side and this side here. These are just stone countertops. And it waterfalls down to the floor where the employee entrance part of it is. It also waterfalls down over here next to the ADA side of the bar. The ADA side of the bar typically won't have a foot rail under it. Usually it's considered an obstruction when you have a wheelchair that needs to get through there. So they usually cap off the foot rail bracket like shortly right before that drop down. So that is something you would see commonly. What's up? Huh? Yeah, that's Cody. Why are you gonna say hi? Tina says hi. Oh, tired. Okay. Are you
Yes.
heading out of here or something? Okay. Okay. I'll stop by in a little bit. Anyways, so yeah, the ADA side we usually won't have a foot rail. Now, foot rails are something that we'll buy. There are a few different vendors out there that we'll buy from that do these things. The most common one that you're going to see is a company called KegWorks, like KEG Works. They make all different types of foot rails. We can look at their website real quick. They also make there's a nice little bicycle there too. All right, so these guys do a fair amount of bar hardware. So not only do they do like foot rails like below the bar, they also make drink rails too, which is kind of cool. And we do have blocks for all their drink rails in our tool palettes too, which is really nice. Um, let's see. So the foot rails, there's mostly it's just depending on what finish you want to get. So like whatever finish they spec on their architecturals is what will match. But they have all these different finishes you can get. And then the brackets are usually one of the things that people get a little picky about because there are several different options. I was going to say that's new, but that's a custom one. I don't remember seeing that goofy one. But these are just the brackets that hold the foot rail bar. You can get ones that mount to the floor, ones that mount to your actual bar front, and then you can get ones that actually mount to both. So several different variants of those on their website. And it looks like they've probably even added more because there's a square one too, which I've never seen that before. That's odd. Anyways, yeah, so I guess they have added more to their inventory, which is kind of cool. But yeah, this company here, anytime you're drawing a bar, you'll probably end up working with these people. Um, they have a lot of different things. I don't know what this 3D visualizer is too, but that's kind of cool. What is this? Oh, that's cool. It's like an AI thing. I guess you can upload a picture of your bar probably. Oh no, you okay, never mind. It's not as cool as I thought. You just pick different options for your bar and it changes a picture, I guess. All right. Not as cool as I would have hoped. Oh well. So going back to our bar though, aside from the foot rail that wraps around the entirety of the bar pretty much, and the drink rail, we also see that we have, there are panels that go all the way around the outside of the bar. In between those panels, we did do reveals. I'll have to look at our drawing to see what kind of reveals we did. I would be thinking we probably did like spline reveals in between those panels would be most commonly used. Don't know if that's what we did here though. This is pretty far back. And then on the back side of the bar, a lot of times when you're drawing bars, there will be what's called FRP on the back of that bar. And what that is if you've ever seen like a cheap shower stall or, you know, or something like that, it is this plastic material that will be adhered to the inside of the bar. And they use it because it's more of a sanitary measure, like food safety will require this type of material to be used a lot of times on, depending on like what region or what state you're in, they might allow you to use other materials, but most times you're going to see this on the inside of the bars. It's just like a real cheapy plastic material, but it's easy to clean and it doesn't really hold bacteria like if you were to use like a wood panel or something like that. So so yeah, that will be something we might have to use on this bar too, which I haven't gotten that far into looking at these drawings to see if that's what it is. But when we draw it, we pretty much like draw it like you would for a piece of laminate. You're not going to have to draw the thickness of that material in your print, but you will point it out usually, whether it's by on-site or by somebody else. We'll write FRP by others, or we'll put like a hardware call or a material call on it saying what it is. So that's usually used on the inside of bars. Let's see. And in between those FRP panels, there are these rectangular square panels. Those are probably just removable access panels, which are a lot of times put on desks and bars to be able to get to plumbing and wiring inside of the die wall framing. So there's quite a few of them on this bar, which I don't remember why we needed that many of them. But we did have a lot, so it'll be good practice for that too. One other thing that I'm seeing here too is it looks like there's a piece of trim underneath of these waterfall legs, which I kind of forgot existed. So we're gonna have to look at that and see what the heck that is, because I don't remember that at all. Again, it's been, what year was this from? 2018? Yeah, January of 2018. So it's pretty far back. Let's look at the front of the bar though. Oh, those are actually glass panels. It's kind of different. So we had used glass panels on the front of the bar, but they were by others, so that kind of makes our lives easier a little bit. We still have to coordinate with them, unfortunately, but we usually would probably provide like a backer for that for the glass to glue up to, which I think is what we're seeing right here. 1/4 inch glass with 1/8 inch mastic gap by others on 3/8 prime substrate. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, we drew the glass at looks like 3/8 thick. A 1/4 inch for the actual glass itself, an 1/8 inch for what's called the mastic gap, which is usually just a fancy term for that's the space for the glue to sit behind the glass. You might see that on stone drawings too. A lot of times you'll see like something referring to a mastic gap, and that's what that is. It's just the space where the glue sits behind the stone or the glass. All right, it looks like there is FRP on this bar, so it's a good thing we talked about it. We did provide it on this bar though, so man, this is old. You don't even have bubbles for the materials on this, which is pretty sad. Anyway, I'll stop commenting on the poor drawing quality that we used to do. But it's pretty shoddy though compared to what we do today. All right, so We also have in-wall steel brackets on this bar too. So some things to note about that. Anytime you have an in-wall steel bracket and we're providing the die wall that the bracket is being mounted to, the bracket itself, if we're using the A&M brackets, these probably weren't because of how old this is, but when we're using the A&M brackets, the bracket arm is always 2 inches wide on the inside of that wall. So what we'll do is we'll actually make the ribs inside of that wall 2.5 inches at the minimum. I mean, that is just so that way you have a little bit of wiggle room. So that bracket can fit within that wall and it's not totally tight to the front and back of the panels on the wall. So something to take note of there when we are building a die wall, that is something we got to watch out for. Let's see. Fortunately, I think this die wall is big enough where it's not going to be an issue. It's 5 inches, and then there's a 3/4 panel on the front and the back. So 5 minus 1.5 inches. So we're at 3.5 on the inside. So we should have more than enough clearance there for that bracket to fit within the wall. So that's no big deal. Let's see. Oh, we didn't provide the stone countertop on this one, but we did provide the plywood substrate. Sorry again for not having any hatching there. We really didn't have any hatching back in our old drafting software. So when we go to plot this one, we're gonna do a better job of showing that. There are purse hooks under here too. I just noticed that. So we kind of labeled them as hook 1. But if you look at the front of the bar, I bet you they show up there. Aha, yep, you can see them. So it's just kind of like a double hook, usually referred to as purse hooks, but you can put your code on there or whatever. They will usually have these underneath the bars just for that purpose. A lot of times they won't give you the exact location of those on the architecturals. And so usually what we'll do is we'll space them out and try to make them look as nice and even as we can. When we get into looking at the actual architecturals, we'll see if they give us that information. But my best interpretation is that they probably don't. All right. Let's see, anything else we want to look at before we jump in? Well, we can recap this a little bit too. So the die wall here, we've got our locator plate on the floor line, got our base plate sitting right on top of that. And then at the very top, we have that top plate there. In between, we have ribs with circles cut out of them for the what's referred to as either a wire chase or a plumbing chase, just to run electrical or plumbing through those holes. So they have something to be able to do that with instead of running the cord along the floor or something like that. And then I want to look at, see if we actually have a hardware or an arrow or anything for that little area that's sitting below the stone. Because it did look like there was like a little channel or something there. I might just ignore that unless it's called out on the architectural, because I'm not really sure what the purpose of that would be, other than maybe like a decorative feature. Oh, look at that. The boss man messed up. Look at that. They should have docked my pay for that one. There's an arrow with nothing attached to it. I also see this one's a little bit cut off too. But I guess you got to give me a break. That was like when I first started here, so it was I kind of had those little hiccups back then too. All right. Let's see. I don't think there's really anything else to really look at on here besides maybe pulling up their architecturals and seeing what they got going on. We can do that next. See what all they showed. This is kind of old, so I'm wondering if their architecturals actually show this in any, or if they show it in better detail than what we're used to seeing today. But we will find out. Looks like this was on the 9th floor, room 920. Oh yeah, you can also see this too. Give you a little bit of appreciation of where we're at today. We used to put the rib number and the floor number under every single view. I don't know why we did that. It was kind of annoying because every time you put in a view call, you had to type that in every time. So I'm very thankful we don't have to do that anymore. All we have now is the scale and the arc graph, which is way easier. The reason we got rid of it was because it's already down here anyway. So there's really no point in us actually, putting that underneath of every view. Anyways, a little bit of on-site history there. Let's go to the 9th floor and just see what we have going on. All right. Where is 920? We got 922, 21. It's got to be like, oh, it's right here. There's the amenity space. So I don't see the bar on here, but let's see if I had an arc ref for that on my drawing. A7.503. All right, let's find that. Probably an enlarged view of that room. A7.50, well, 502. Where is this drawing? I mean, we could always draw it based on the on-site shop drawing if we can't find it, but it should exist in here though. Why don't we try this? Level 9 segment A and segment B. See if it shows up on any of these drawings here. All right, there's 920 right there. And segment B. Well, weird. I guess this whole room is 920, so let me make sure it's not. I don't see it over here anywhere. Huh. Okay. Well, in that case, we will probably have to draw it off of our drawing because I don't know where the heck that would be at. This is really weird. Oh, here, let me try this too. Let me see if these A7.503, that's the same drawing. Well, I got another idea. I wonder if this is it. This is definitely the right job here. Heck yeah. All right. So it exists on SharePoint. That's great. Looks like 0.504 has the section views though, so I need that too. Okay, I'm gonna download these two drawings and send them to the group chat. Because these apparently don't exist in the job folder, which I don't know why that would be. It's really strange. All right, let me get those and put them in here. These were the architecturals we had to work with when we drew this bar way back when. And we'll also send over the on-site shop drawings too while we're at it. The bar practice. It's these guys here. Oh no, not that one. All right. And some files couldn't be uploaded because they're missing what? Missing necessary information. What you talking about? Okay, that's weird. Oh, maybe it's because it's in a zipped folder. That could be. Let me try to unzip it here and then we'll try that out. Oop. Hey, there we go. All right, cool. Awesome. All right, so we'll get started here on this guy now that we have everything we need to start on it. All right, so let's look at our architecturals here. They gave us this nice little rendering of the bar. Didn't put the foot rail in there, but that's okay. You can kind of see that glass panel system going around the front, which is pretty cool. Looks like we didn't do this wall as far as I know, but that looks like something that we could potentially do or maybe could have done. What's weird is they show like veneer. You can see the grain on it. It's almost like they have veneer on the inside of the bar, but we know that's not what we use, so we're not gonna worry about that. All right. You can almost see what was on the news that day. All right. So let's see. We have our plan view here, got our section views over here, and our original drawing there. So first off, with this type of bar, what's going to be the most helpful for us is to be able to draw the section view first. I say that because if you were to try to skip that step, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up with a situation where you're going to have to model the bar piece by piece, which also, can present a lot of issues too, because it will, it'll make it so you're going to be, um, modeling everything part by part. So there could be room for like user error or human error in doing the math on it. So the easiest way to go about drawing something like this is really to start by drawing the actual section views of the bar first. So we're going to do that. We'll start with this shape first because this one's going to be the easiest out of the two to draw. So we'll start there. I'm going to go split screen this. We'll make AutoCAD in one half and Bluebeam the other half. Probably zip that down a little bit more. There we go. Hopefully that's seeable. All right, cool. All right. And I'm going to delete that too. I know we deleted it last time and then Cody had to bring it back from another drawing. I'm just going to get rid of it for now so that way we can work on the model here. All right. So originally they had shown this wall as being made out of steel, which can work. I will say the reason why we try to push not to do that, especially with furniture like this, if you consider this bar to be furniture, is that if somebody else builds that wall, let's say the drywaller came in and they built that wall out of their steel studs that they typically use, we would have to go out there and take very, very accurate field measurements on that wall in order for our panels to actually match up with the framework on the wall. And a lot of times if we do that, even if we're really careful, there's still room for error. Like you could have something off by like an eighth or a 16th, and it could throw off some other stuff. So really, when we have a piece of furniture like this, we really try to push to frame the wall ourselves because then our shop can build the framework and they can ship this out in sections rather than shipping it as panels and a, sub top and things like that. So it makes it easier all around for us. It's a little bit more pricey from the architect side because we have to build them for that wall framing, but it's less of a coordination nightmare if we can build the wall ourselves. So, all right. What we're going to do first is we can see that the countertop height is set at 3'6" here. We do need to find the width. Right now, we're not given that. So I'm guessing where we can find that is most likely going to be in our plan view. So we're gonna go jump over to there real quick and just see what they have drawn. Okay. So let's see, what do we got? Well, it might actually vary a little bit. Let's see, 2'5", 2'5". Actually, that makes sense. So it looks like they want the die wall to be 5 inches wide from front to back. And then they're looking to have a 1 foot overhang on the front and the back of that die wall. So that's pretty easy to remember. It's really not that hard. That would give us a 2'5" countertop all the way around the bar. When we get to the drink rail part, our countertop's going to shrink a little bit where the drink rail sits in these dashed line areas. But that's no big deal. Let's see. Then when we get to this part here, we'll figure this part out, shortly, but let's go back to our section view now that we know that we're at 2'5" for the countertop depth. Sorry, guys. Man, so tired sometimes. All right, so 29
yawning is contagious.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay. I think I kind of started it earlier in the video.
Maybe. I got up really early this morning on accident. I just kind of woke up at like 2 a.m. and then I took like an hour to get back to sleep, so it kind of stunk, but
Dang.
yeah, so a little tired, but that's okay. So we're gonna draw a rectangle here first and just draw this in the shape of our countertop. So that's 2'5" or 29 inches wide. And it looks like, well, we can kind of see from this side, this is about 1.5 inches tall. This side might be about 2 inches, but I'm gonna see if I can find a dimension on that. So let's start by dropping this in 1.5 inches just for now. So that's kind of the general shape, but the front has a lip that comes down a little bit, or an apron that comes down a little bit more. And we need to try to find out what that apron height is. So I'm going to refer to our elevation views to see, it is 2 inches. Check that out. All right. So we're going to keep that in mind here. We're going to go back to our drawing. Okay, so we know that this here, although it's not drawn, which is kind of silly, is at 2 inches here. And we also know that this is at 2'9", or sorry, 29, 2'5". Okay. And then this side should be 1.5 inches because we're using what looks like 2 centimeter stone. And 2 centimeter stone will generally get drawn with or as 3/4 thick. And that's because when you have, well, 2 centimeters is actually a little bit smaller than 3/4, but just like we talked about with that mastic gap that we saw behind the glass, we kind of build that into our thickness of our stone. So we already know that that stone is going to be a little less than 3/4, but by the time we put the glue on the subtop to attach that stone down, it builds it up to about 3/4 thick roughly. So anyway, a little backstory on that too. All right, let's go ahead and draw this countertop in. We'll detail it out the rest of the way. So we'll draw another rectangle in here. We're gonna go 29 inches across, and we're gonna hit our tab key and go 0.75 down. All right. Now we'll do a couple more rectangles, one at the front. This one's going to be 0.75 for thickness and 1.5 for height. And then we'll do one more over here. So it'll be 0.75 thick, but 2 inches down this time. And I'm going to delete that. That was kind of that general shape of the countertop, so I could kind of visualize what I was working with here. And I'm going to drop in another rectangle here to represent that subtop. So it's going to be like that. Now, I do have to clean up these corners a little bit. Right now, they are just shown as like overlapping. I'm going to take these and actually draw them in as miters for right now. this bar doesn't curve, so we should be able to miter the stone no problem. If the bar was on a curve, just a heads up for you guys, if you ever have something with stone on a curve, it is near impossible to be able to run a miter along a curved profile. And so what we'll do, if there's any type of radius to your bar, is we will do what's called a stacked detail. And that would be something more like this. So what we'll do is we'll glue up stone pieces, which a lot of people don't like the aesthetic of that, because what it does is it makes it so you actually kind of see these little lines a lot of times from the front face of the bar. But when you have something on a curve, the stone vendors aren't really able to run a miter through that stone and run it on a curve. If it's just a straight run, they can do the miter and that's no big deal. But if it's on a curve, they have to do like the stacked type detail like this. Some of you guys may have seen this already on some other drawings. Like I think Jordan did one on a drawing for a trash cabinet that had a countertop that dropped in without a grommet. So it just had a hole in the counter. I think you did a stack detail like that then for that. But anyway, just a little side note there. Our bar isn't curved, so we don't have to do that. But if it was, we would have to make the detail look more like that. So we have our subtop here, got our stone, front apron, top, and back apron. We need to move on to our die wall next. All right, so I'm going to take the line command. I'm going to draw a line straight down from the center of the countertop down at 3'6" to the floor. So that's 42 inches tall. That'll be the height of our bar. So then what I want to do is draw a rectangle here that spans from the bottom of that countertop to the floor. Looks like that would be 40.5 inches. Oops. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oopsies. Anyway, the thickness of that is going to be 5 inches anyway. So 40.5 tall by 5 inches wide. And then we want to center this die wall. So I'm using the move command to just take this rectangle and move it to where it needs to fit. So right about there. Okay. And then we can take the die wall and detail that out next. So, all right, let's do that. Oh, that's kind of goofy. I just noticed they also want FRP on the underside of the subtop too, which is probably a sanitary thing for the city of Chicago. I think they have a lot more stricter food safety rules out there. And so you do sometimes see that on the underside of a subtop. So it's kind of important to like question that, or at least look for it if you don't see it. Other times you might just have this primed black or primed white, you know, the underside of that counter. But in this case, they're putting FRP on there. So we need to make sure we don't forget about that when we plot the drawing. Okay, so detailing out the die wall. If you remember when we talked about it before, we are going to do the glass at 3/8 thick, and we're gonna, oh, do you need me, Rod? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry, sidetracked. Squirrel. All right. So when we did this bar originally, we did the glass. Oh, the glass was a 1/4 inch with the 1/8 inch mastic gap. So we drew it at 3/8, even though the glass was going to be a 1/4 inch thick in like actual dimension there, plus the 1/8 for the glue. So when we go to draw the section of the bar, we are going to match that here too. So let's take a rectangle down from the top. And right now we're going to go to the floor. But as you notice here, there's a piece of trim at the bottom. I'm guessing what they probably needed that for is so that they have something to attach these brackets to, because you really couldn't attach that through the glass easily. So what we're going to do is run it to the floor first. And we're going to make this 3/8 thick. So 0.375 and 40 40.5 inches tall. We do want that to sit inside of this rectangle here because that is the outline of the drywall that we're building. All right. And then behind that glass, I believe we ended up doing a 3/8 thick substrate behind it. So we used 3/8 thick plywood for that. So we're gonna copy that rectangle back through, right behind the glass. So each of these should be 0.375 or 3/8 right there. All right, cool. All right, we will come back to this base trim here in just a second. Let's go to the back side of this bar and draw in our 3/4 inch thick plywood substrate for the FRP to sit on top of. So we'll do another rectangle. Just like the the pedestal, you're gonna get really good at drawing rectangles apparently on this one. So 40.5 inches by 3/4 thick. All right. That gives us the general outline of the drywall. So I'm going to remove the border that we drew originally. And then we're going to go and fix this base trim detail. So we need to figure out how tall is this base trim. Now it's not dimensioned here. So we need to look elsewhere to see if it's called out anywhere first. We'll check our, oh, right there, cool. So they're dimensioning it at 8 inches tall, and it's going from the floor to the top of this corked reveal that they're showing at the top of the base. So if I go back here, there is, yeah, you can kind of see that cork running through there. They just kind of notch that around. So the base trim is really going to look more like, right now they're showing it attached to the substrate for the glass substrate, but it's going to be separate. It'll be more like that. So 8 inches tall to the top, and we're going to run this at a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch kerf or cork. I think that's what we did originally would be my guess. Hey, all right, cool. Check it out. All right. So we're going to draw that in next. All right. So this time, instead of using the rectangle, I'll probably end up just drawing this with a polyline. So if I take this, I'm going to use the polyline tool. I'm going to come up 8 inches here. And this is a 3/4 inch thick base, but we have a 1/4 by 1/4 cork in the front. So I'm just going to go 0.5 over, 0.25 down, 0.25 over. So now I should be at a total thickness of 3/4 there. So that's good. And then I just got to connect the dots down here. All right. And I'm going to leave that open for right now. I kind of like to do that because then if I go into my properties and I check that this needs to be closed, it'll draw that line anyway for me. But then it just makes sure that there's no extra points in this polyline. Like it just kind of snaps it there already by itself automatically. All right. So that's our base trim. Move that over. We're going to snap it right to the bottom of that glass and plywood substrate. And then we're going to take the glass and plywood substrate and we're going to raise it up so that it's sitting right at the top of that base. So just like that. Okay. All right. Then comes the drywall framing. So you have options here. You can use the, if you'd like to, you could use the drywall blocks to do this, or you could draw it in by hand. The drywall blocks, what we drew originally was kind of basic, but I understand the reason why we did it the way we did it. But I think I'm going to change it up a little bit here. I think what I'm going to do is on the glass side or the front side of the bar, I'm going to draw a drywall that has nailers in it. On the back side of the bar, oh, let's see. I guess we could just leave those as regular ribs with no blocking on them because what we're going to do is we're going to provide a bunch of these access panels so we won't have to make this panel removable technically. So what I'm going to do is I'll probably run with that. We'll go in here. We're going to go find the drywall that has a blank side and a nailer side. So we're going to pull that in. Gosh, these take forever to load. There we go. All right. And the nailers are already on the right side. Yippee skippy. Ooh. All right, so I'm taking that block, moving it in. I'm gonna shrink it on back so that way it fits in between the plywood here and the plywood here. Actually, I don't know, maybe I'll do nailers on both sides. We could just do that if there's enough room. What does that leave us with for a rib spacing? Exactly 2.5. So I mean, we could do that and still have enough room for a bracket to fit in there. Probably we'll just do that then. All right. Ooh. So we got nailers on the front and the back. All right. Okay. Yeah, so I would say this section of the drywall, aside from adding in the steel and the purse hooks, really that's all we really need in order to make this model. So one last thing before we call this one done though is I do want to check and make sure that everything that I have here is a polyline. I can do that by highlighting everything that's in that section view as it sits right now. And if you see at the top of your properties, after you've highlighted that this says polyline with a number following that, that means that everything that you've selected here is a polyline. And you can even go a step further and check to see if all of those are closed. And if it says yes, then all your polylines are closed, which is perfect. And that's what you want to see. I did move the drywall framing off to the side here for a moment because before we generate a 3D model with that drywall, I do need to explode that block and also make sure that these are all close polylines too. So I'm also going to delete the hatching in here. I can do that by clicking on them individually, or I can highlight that shape that we have here, go into here, and like we talked about earlier, because it doesn't, I have more than just polyline selected. It doesn't actually say polyline. It says all with 20 following that. But you can see that there are 6 hatches and 14 polylines in that selection. So in order to only select the hatches, what I'm going to do is go over to properties, go into this quick select menu, and then I'm going to tell it, oh, popped up on my other screen. I'm going to tell it that I only want to select hatches, and I'm going to tell it that it doesn't matter what layer or what color the hatch is. I just want it to select all hatches. So I'm going to do that. Make sure include in new selection set is checked, and then hit OK. What that'll do is it'll deselect any of the things that aren't hatches, but select only the hatches that were in that window that I drew. Okay. And the only thing really left to do here is these are, which is hard to see. I do have some pictures of drywalls too that I can show you guys. We had one in our shop last week that I got some really good pictures of. So I'm going to send that to our group chat. But the nailers, as well as the base plate and the top plate, are what's called dadoed in. And what that means is that we have the these nailers and these plates routed. Every time there's a rib, it gets a little 1/4 inch route where the rib sits. And I'm going to send a picture of what that looks like here in just a sec. I just got to find it in my gallery real quick here. Oh, all right. Got to go around all the memes. All right. All right. Here we go. So there's some drywall pictures from our shop. That was something that was out there last week. So pull those up over here so we can look at them. So this drywall had integrated cleats built into it. It also had nailers too. These middle pieces are what the nailers would look like in real life. This one was routed in actually deeper than normal, which is kind of weird. Usually they're only routed in a 1/4 inch, but it looks like they routed these in all the way so that the nailers are sitting flush with the front of the rib and the back of the rib here, which is kind of weird. That's not typically how we would build that, but I could see that, you know, maybe it got built that way for, I don't know, maybe they needed more room inside of here, or maybe it was like a limited space issue. Let me see if I got a good, oh, right here. This is perfect. So that dado I was mentioning earlier, if you zoom in on the side view of that island, or side view of that die wall, you can see it really well right here. Right here, you can actually physically see like where that rib sticks into the base plate of that die wall, and it's sitting in there 1/4 of an inch. So that's what I was talking about when I said that there was going to be dados, and that's why there's a hidden line on the top plate, the base plate, and the nailers. And you can see it a little bit here too, although it's a little bit harder to see in this picture. I guess my my phone doesn't really take the greatest pictures when you zoom in really close, but that's okay. It still does the job. So anyway, that's a pretty standard looking die wall that I just happened to see out there one day. So I stepped aside and pulled some pictures for it so that way we could use it for training purposes. But that is in that group chat if you guys want to take a look at that at some point. All right. So that's why, again, that's why these hidden lines are here, is because these are being dadoed in. What I'm going to do though, before we model this thing, is I'm actually going to remove those hidden lines, and I'm going to extend these blocks to match up with where those hidden lines are. The reason I'm doing that right now is because later on when we do the model, what I'm going to do is subtract the ribs out of these nailers to make the dados. So for right now, when we do make our model, these are going to overlap until we subtract them out. So it's going to look a little weird when we model it the first go around, but we'll edit it and fix it. One other thing that I don't have in here that I do actually need to add are the wire chase and the plumbing chase holes. And we do have a standard document that explains how to show those on a drawing. I'm going to pull that up here real quick so we can take a look at that and make sure that we don't draw them too large or too small. Hey, doing all right. How are you? All right. So the die walls, here we go. All right, here we go. This standard document here is going to show you a little bit more information. So it says that these holes do need to have a 1 inch minimum set back or offset from the outside of your rib. That's pretty critical because anything smaller than 1 inch here is going to make that rib less structurally sound, and it's going to, I guess, challenge the integrity of the rib or structural integrity of the rib. So we don't want to do that. It's important to remember when we draw these in that we have to have at least 1 inch here between the outside and the circle that we're punching through the rib. There's a note here about that dado again, like we talked about earlier. Sounds like kind of like beating the dead horse because we've already looked at it in a real life picture and looked at it in AutoCAD, but that's another note explaining that. So let's see, I'm pretty sure there was another, maybe that was it. Nope, I guess that was it. So as long as our hole is at least 1 inch minimum from the outside of the rib, we should be okay. I actually did notice here though too that this one is actually less than 1 inch, but it's because there's a an integrated cleat knocked into the rib there, which is kind of weird. I figured that would still have to be 1 inch, but interesting. Okay, let's go back to our drawing. Oh, shoot. Lights are flickering. Dang it, Cody, this is what you get for bringing up Poltergeist the other day.
I'm sorry. I didn't know he followed me around.
Yeah, all of a sudden the lights just flashed in here. I'm like, it's not even raining that hard.
It was.
I swear.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I swear Georgia weather is the weirdest thing. Like, Illinois weather's pretty weird too, but yeah, I thought I just blinked really slow at first, but huh? Oh, well, all right, guys. So since we have all that in polylines now, let's check it and make sure they're all closed. I'm gonna highlight that blue area that we have. It does appear that everything is a polyline and everything is closed. So that's great. What we can do then with that is we can move it back to be within our die wall here. Okay. Now that we have that, we can call this section view complete. There's nothing more that we need to add at this point in time. When we get to actually doing a real drawing of this bar, we'll add in the purse hook and the, well, we could add in the foot rail, I suppose, but I might just leave it alone for right now and we can add that in later. All right,
Check
I'm gonna,
it real quick.
yeah.
For those O'Melveny drawings, when were those supposed to be submitted?
We're gonna send those out Monday. Do you need some time to work on those today?
It looks like I just got a correction back for one of them.
Okay. I see that for L10. I'll look at it and see what it is real quick. Brandon's helping me out with those right now since we're training and he's looking at those at the moment. So
Yeah, he just messaged me over Teams about L8 having only like one correction, I think.
okay. It was L8. Oh, that's the old one. Don't worry about that. That's me. That's old. I don't know where he's got. Oh, L10 here. Is that from him?
I don't know.
Oh,
He didn't send me an actual thing.
I'm gonna check. I'm gonna snoop. Yeah, that's him. So he's just asking you to point out that you need to let the person looking at the drawing know to see detail A for the metal detail on that. That's super simple. And you
Oh,
don't have to do that today. I mean, we're gonna send it on Monday, so if you want to wait till then, that's fine too. I just have to send it by the end of the day Monday. So,
okay. I just wasn't sure. I wanted to point it out to you just in case.
oh yeah, no problem. Like I said, he's doing me a favor by checking drawings right now since he doesn't really have anything to work on
Hmm.
for the day. And so he's helping out with that. If you see any other corrections, they're probably going to be from him too, just because we'll be busy in here. Um, let's see. Oops, my bad. All right. Just replying back to Tina. She sent me some kind of message and I just wrote "ope" back to her, which Cody, you probably don't even know what that is, but but I sent her a message that said "ope" and then I wrote, "Sorry, pardon my Midwesternness." "Ope" is a commonly used vocabulary term from the Midwest and Midwest only, from what I understand. It's when people run into each other or bump into each other by accident, you say "ope." Don't know why. People here say "pardon me" or "excuse me."
Oh, I get it now. It's like oops,
It's
just
like a
without an extra
shortened,
P.
yeah, it's like a shortened version of the of "oops" or something, I guess.
Oops, sorry
It's
about that, eh?
yeah, it's a weird Midwestern thing. Anyway, we'll keep moving. I still say it all the time, but people here look at me like I'm crazy. All right. So we got the ADA side of this counter we got to work on too. And then we actually have one more section on top of that, which is going to be a duplicate of this section, except we're going to add a drink rail to the back of the counter. So we can probably actually do that one right now. What we're going to do is copy the existing section we already made. I'm just moving it 50 inches over to the right-hand side. And then I'm going to pull up some of the drink ledges that we have in our inventory of blocks. So if we go over to the hardware tool palette, there's a drink rail section of these. I'm going to see if I can make this bigger so I can see. How do I do that now? Size. No, not that. Oh, what did I do? See, I just did it again. I didn't even mean to say it that time. All right. I was trying to make these larger so we could actually see what's happening here, but I know there's a way to do it. I just don't understand why it's not allowing me to do that. Anyways. Weird. Is it part of that tab? It is. Okay, perfect. There we go. I should be able to actually see these a little better. Well, maybe not, but we're gonna pick one of these drink rails to use in our bar. We don't have very many. These are different ones from a company called Arc Hardware. So maybe I'm wrong about having the ones from Kegworks in here, but these are the Arc Hardware library of drink rails. They have different options here. I think I've seen this one quite a bit. It's one with this little triangular tab at the front. That one is pretty commonly used. Let's see, what about this one? No, I've actually seen this one a lot too. What it is just a bent piece of sheet metal that's bent into this profile, and then it gets used to make like a drink rail or a scupper, or whatever you want to call it, on the bar for when the the bartenders are making the drinks. They'll put their cups in there. It also drains any liquid and everything too, down to the floor drains too. I am probably going to either use one of these two, but I haven't decided yet. It doesn't really matter. I'll probably just use this one because it'll be the easiest. Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize you had other options too, as far as the height of it too. That's cool. All right. We're going to use this though. And we're going to move it over here, line it up with our bar counter, and line it up over here, just like that. I do want this to line up with the stone apron, although actually it does kind of matter, because looking at their top-down view, it does say that it is 2'5" from the front edge of that drink rail to the front edge of the bar where the customers are going to sit. So it's a good thing we did check. I mean, that's where it's going to end up being. So we'll go ahead and for this part of the bar, we're going to remove the stone there. We're also going to take the stone top, and we're going to bring it back here so that it's butting into the back of the drink rail instead of overlapping it. We can also take the plywood substrate and we can extend it out so that it's bumping into the inside back of the drink rail as well, because really that's what it's going to need for this to mount and attach to the bar. So that section view, we'll have to explode this too real quick and make sure that this is a polyline, or at least a closed polyline. It is not, so we're going to go, oh my gosh, hold on. This thing is acting a fool. All right, B-poly. I'm going to use B-poly and try to close that shape and see if it lets me do it. I'm going to say that's close enough. It just kind of did the outline of it. It got rid of like that shape. But really, that's kind of all I need for the model anyway. And then what's left in here, I'm just going to get rid of these extra pink lines that are kind of just thrown in there right now. All right. Here we go. So It's kind of more basic shape than what we had before, but that might even be easier yet because it might be better for AutoCAD to be able to process it when we draw it. So we'll leave that as it is. We should highlight this though and just double check, make sure everything's closed, which looks like it is, and we're looking at only polylines, so we're good there. So then we're going to move on to the last part of the bar, which is the ADA side. The ADA side is shown over here. All right, and I think for this one, since it does not have a drink rail to start with, we can probably take the profile that we started with at the beginning and copy that over. And I think this has to be a mistake here, because this one they're showing it looks like 2 inches thick, like the apron is 2 inches tall, but really it should be the same as the rest of the bar. And that's on the employee side of the bar or the bartender side. So we're gonna make that 1.5 inches, even though it's kind of shown like it's not. Let's see. All right. What we're gonna do here is on the customer side, we need to lower this countertop down so it's 34 inches or 2'10". So we're going to take a line going straight up here at 34 inches to do that. Okay. And then we need to also lower the glass too. So we got to do all of that. All right. I think what I'm going to do first, I'm going to copy that countertop down, ignoring that back apron. We're going to copy this down 8 inches, just like this. Going to give us the placeholder for where that counter needs to go. And then we're going to fill in the blanks by taking this profile and mashing them together here. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the stone and we're going to bring it back here so that it's sitting just like they have it drawn. Whoops. Right. Oh, hold on. I think I might have missed that. Right there. Okay. There we go. All right. Now that we have that, we need to bring the glass down and the substrate for the glass to sit below the counter and the subtop. So we're going to move that there. Move that there. And then just like they have drawn, we are going to draw in a 3/4 inch substrate right there. Okay. After that, we just need to take a stone slab. Again, another 3/4 inch rectangle by that. Okay. We're going to raise that up. It's going to miter into the countertop here. All right. And then we just got to clean this up a little bit and boom, there we go. That's just going to be what it is right there. So really it's not that different than the other side of the bar. It just has that drop down ledge. That's it. Okay. So we've got all 3 sections drawn. So just make sure that is polylines and all closed. So we are good on that. So all 3 sections are drawn. And I don't think there's any other variants of the bar. I think that was it. Just one through an area without a drink ledge, one through the drink ledge area, and one through the ADA counter. So now that we have that, we need to take our plan view and we need to start drawing out the general shape of the bar here. So we're going to go and start by taking the dimensions they give us. So we're going to go off to the side here. All right. And let's see if I can, you guys can see the dimensions on these if it's like that, right? Or is it too zoomed out? I don't know. It looks pretty small to me.
I'm sorry, say again?
Can you guys actually read these dimensions as they are right now, or do I got to zoom in a little bit further?
I mean, I can barely see them. Like I can make out what they
Okay.
are, but I might, you know.
I am gonna try to make that a little wider then.
Oh, that's much better.
Okay, good. I was gonna say, I want to make sure that you can see that on the recording too. So, um, yeah, let's do that. We'll make this more of an actual legit split screen instead of what I had before. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw this in. We know that the overall width down here is 19'4". We know that the overall length on this side is 12'10". So, see it, Trey? I'm gonna draw that in right here. So I got to do the math because I don't know what 19'4" is off the top of my head. Looks like it's 232 inches. And I'm going to hit tab and move on to the length of that, which is 12'10". 12 feet is 144 plus 10 would be 154 inches tall, or well, not tall really. The length of it's 154 by the other side being 232. All right. So this is kind of the general shape of the bar. We have to do a little bit more detail than that just to get this to work right. So, because we're going to be doing a few different things. We're probably going to end up sweeping the bar, but we're going to have to sweep it in a few different parts. So this is going to be really important because of the drink rail scenario. If we didn't have that drink rail in the bar, we could literally make a sweep path that went just like this all the way around the entire bar. And we'd probably like stop it right where that ADA counter starts. So we could literally do that if we didn't have the drink rail. Now, we do have a drink rail in there, so there are going to be two options for us here. We can either, trying to think what's going to be easier. We can either do a sweep, which would be from like here to where the drink rail stops, and then do another sweep that would go like from here around until the drink rail starts again. And then do one more sweep for the drink rail over here. You know, that gets to be a little more complicated. I think what I'd rather do is I think I rather would start by sweeping the entire counter all the way around without the drink rail, and then we're going to add in the drink rail after the fact. That's going to be a lot easier. So we're going to go with the method of thinking that we're going to sweep from here all the way around until you hit that point there. So we need to draw that polyline in order for us to be able to do that. So this is going to be, we start here. We know that we are 36 inches because that's 3 feet up there, 36 inches down from there, and that's where the ADA counter will start. So what we need to do is find the endpoint now. So from over here, we have 3 dimensions to add up. We got 1'5", 2 feet, and 3'2" and 3/4. So 12 plus 5 plus 24 plus 36 plus 2 plus 0.75. Oh, oops. Help if my calculator is on. Whoops. All right. Okay, so 79.75. So we're going to go from the outside corner here, 79.75 over to there. And that'll be the start point. This will be the stop point of our sweep. Those extra lines can get tossed. We don't need them anymore. And then to do a sweep, we need to be able to, we need a path, and that path has to be a polyline for it to make a shape like this. So we're going to do the polyline command. We're going to start at that base point there. We're going to go and trace around our bar like that. Right. And I'm going to move that polyline just so it's not overlapping the shape of the bar. We'll move it over maybe like 500 inches that way. All right. So, all right. From there, I'm going to copy this section view. important. I want to make a copy of it and not just move the actual section view, because that way I have my original still in case I need to go back for any reason. Paste that over here. All right, and then I'm gonna hold down my shift key and my middle mouse button, and I'm gonna rotate this bad boy into 3D space. We need to use the 3D rotate command to flip this profile to be standing up. And we also want to make sure that the 2-inch apron is facing out towards the customer side of the bar. So just like that, that would be just fine. I'm going to take the move command now. I'm going to move that bar counter section, lining this corner up with the start point of my sweep path. And then I can do the sweep, and we will cross our fingers that nothing breaks. So we're going to start by starting the sweep command, highlighting our section view. And then we're going to hit important note to come down here, make sure that we say we do not want the alignment to be on. So we're going to say no. And base point, we need to select the base point where the profile meets the path. So that would be right there. Once you've selected no to alignment and the base point, you can click on your sweep path and it can just go ahead and draw your bar. This is going to be relatively close to what we need. We do have to add in the drink rails and the ADA counter, but for the majority of the bar, that pretty much takes care of a lot of what we need. So for the drink rail part, probably got to figure out a good way to be able to take what we have right now and remove that drink rail part from this bar so we can add in the actual drink rail, like remove the countertop that's in the way so we can add the drink rail. Let's see, what do we want to do for that? Yeah, because now that we got that, well, before we do that, let's miter these corners. Right now it's one solid object, which isn't going to really help us very much. Looking back at what we did originally, we ended up doing mitered corners at the bar, which is kind of weird, but I don't remember why we did that, but I'm going to go ahead and add those in right now. So we'll do the slice command here. Highlight the entire bar, and I'm going to slice from that point to the inside corner. It's going to cause a problem, so we want to keep both sides for sure, but it's going to cause a problem because what you're going to see here is that this part is still connected to that part even though they're not touching. Somewhat of a weird thing in AutoCAD to watch out for, but we'll fix that here in just a moment. What we're going to do next though is we're going to slice this corner from there to there. Okay, and then we're going to slice this corner from here to there. All right, so we got a little bit of weirdness going on. It's no big deal.
Question.
Yeah.
Could we have avoided that slice all the way through if we had done a 3-point slice and done, like, of course, the top two, but then also down right below it, like where the tabletop is, that 3/4 of an inch down from it?
Mm-hmm. Like if you were to do like a slice like this and then down this way,
Mm-hmm.
it would still unfortunately cut through both parts because they were kind of what's called like they're union together or they're grouped together.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an easy way to go about fixing that without having to do a lot of work. Now, I'll show you guys two different things you can do to fix that. One thing you can do is you can, let's see, I'll show you this real quick. So in your 3D toolbar up at the top, there's this command here called separate. This is actually a pretty cool command because you can see what they have here is they have these two nubs that are actually grouped together, as you can see. And then when you use the separate command, you can break those apart into individual objects. So we can do that for our bar. Like if I click on this and hit enter, it actually will break those apart, but it only works like one part at a time. So it kind of does not, like it kind of sucks that way because then all that stuff is all still grouped below that counter. Like this is separate, which is great, but then everything else is still, you know, stuck together. Like we don't want that. So another thing you can do too, if you have something like that where it's stuck together, is you can actually use the slice command to fix that. Like if I highlight everything here, as you can see, it's selecting both sides right now. If I slice through the middle of my bar, like here, it's going to separate all those parts into individual parts, which is kind of exactly what we want to see. But I'm still left with this corner too. Let's see. So these are all separate parts now, except for that corner. And for this corner, what I'll probably do is I'll probably slice this through here. That way, when I do that, I'm not going to be chopping any of the parts, but I can still like slice, even though it's like it's not really connected, it's going to think about it like it is. So I'm going to cut through it just like this to separate that from the other parts over there. So we'll do that again, keep both sides. And then what I need to do now is union anything that is not meant to be separate. So I'm going to union that to there. I'm going to union this to there. And as I go around here, I'm going to hide these objects now. And so I can start to union the rest of these parts that are separate now at this point. So those two subtops, union them together. This apron, that apron, whoops, this apron, these panels. I'm just using that union command just to bring everything back together that needs to be connected. Kind of a lot of cleanup work. I hate doing this part. Whoops. See, I just messed that up too. I unioned the base plate to the panel, which I did not mean to do. All right. Hide these. Just make sure there's nothing else that needs to be unioned. Okay, it looks like I do have some other stuff. Yeah. It's really hard to see with this white color too. All right. Sorry guys, this is just taking a minute. That looks like it's good to go. There's a couple parts here that still need to be connected. Ooh. Oh wait, that's already connected. Ah. All right. I think once I have all these union together, if you guys are okay with taking a short break before we get to doing the drink rail, I'd be happy to kind of just take a minute, get some air real quick and come back.
You want to just take a couple of minutes, or do you want to break away for lunch since it's almost?
You guys want to do your lunch breaks? Because we can do that. You want to vote on it?
I'll go with whatever Jordan goes with.
I'm okay with anything too, so.
We've left him speechless.
I know. He's like, lunch. I don't know. Well, we can take lunch. That's fine. We'll
I
come right
figured.
back.
Yeah, it's 12:30 right now, so I figured it would, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's fine with me. I'm kind of hungry anyway. Plus, it is getting to the point where I don't want to be crashing and burning either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the first time we did that training with that desk, I was like struggling hardcore. I don't want to be doing that either because that's not productive for you guys at all either. This is going to be a lot better though. I just had to get back into that training mindset because like that first time was definitely difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've got everything grouped back together though. Oh, wait. Hold on. What is that? There's one more thing up there. Sorry. I think that's the nailers. It is. It is. I mean, union those, and then we'll take our lunch.
Okay.
Make sure that's it. Looks like we are almost. Sorry, there's one more nailer up here that I forgot to hit. Oh, and then we're done. I figured I missed it on both sides since I missed it on the one. All right. I'm gonna bring everything back. I'll save this right now. And then when we come back from lunch, we're gonna add in the drink rails. And then once the drink rails are in, we will focus on the ADA side. And then we'll do the fancy stuff like the foot rail and the purse hooks.
Okay.
So we'll take our little break here. I'll probably leave the call and then we can come back to it right after. It's about 12:34 here. So if we come back, we'll probably start back up around like 105 or so, something like that. And then we can get back into it.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys for your time, and we'll see you guys in just a little bit here then.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.